Hey guys, Matt here for a quick second before we start. 30 years ago, radiation from my cancer treatment felt like someone put an easy bake oven in the Chernobyl control room and said, fire it up. My skin came out somewhere between rotisserie chicken and Deadpool's face. The official recovery plan was a bathtub full of Vaseline and walk it off. You look great. So yeah, skin health became a thing for me. And that's why I partnered with Codex Labs. They make skincare products for compromised skin, including people going through cancer treatment, by focusing on the skin barrier and the microbiome instead of fragrances and marketing hype with fancy logos. Look, I'm just a guy. I want soap that works. Soap should be soap, lotion should be lotion, cleanser should be cleanser. It shouldn't create new problems when you already have enough shit to deal with. With Codex products, my skin feels better, my wife loves it, my daughter steals it, and I only put my name on things I would hand to another cancer patient. If you would like to learn more about Codex Labs and their products, visit MatthewZachary.com/Codex. That's MatthewZachary.com/Codex and use code Zachary to save 15%. All right, let's get to the episode.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. My guest today is Rebecca Benghiat, a JD who skipped the part where she hated her law job so much she just went straight to running the mental health ecosystem, pretty much, which honestly is the most baller career move I've heard in quite a while. Rebecca grew up in California on playground splinters like a good 80s kid, hiding under our desks from nuclear holocaust for shelter drills. She now sits at the intersection of philanthropy, impact, brain health, emerging adults, and whatever the hell we're calling psychedelics this week. We talk about wicked problems. That's a theme on the show. She overuses the word wicked, and I love it. Why every mental health app swears it's the answer, whether scale is overrated, and why friction might actually be good for kids. We debate Dodgeball. Dodgeball. We question AI ads. We ask who gets to decide what's working and what that even means. She's funny, surgical, risk-tolerant, and deeply allergic to bullshit. My kind of girl. Ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Benghiat. My name is Matthew Zachary, and this is Out of Patience. Let's get started. I can't not start the show with what we just discussed is Benghiat.
Yes. Close.
Having teenagers. Benghiat.
Yes. Benghiat.
Benghiat.
Good job.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Having teenagers. Anyone listening that has teenagers might know, because you're 20. He's past the point of knowing what this is.
Yep.
Is that Ghiat is now a synonym for booty.
Absolute news. I will let my genealogy-focused father-in-law.
Just tell your husband, change the damn name. You had a downgrade from what?
I had Hankin was a reasonable. Nobody could say that either, though. You'd be surprised.
Hankin?
Yeah, Hankin.
That's easy.
You'd be surprised.
I've met our species, so I'm not going to disagree with you.
Correct. Yes. So it was not a difficult change. Just as problematic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have just so many questions to ask you, but you're such. I feel like you're like a quiet ninja. You know, I just see JD and I'm scared already.
It's the best, sneakiest thing I've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without practicing, I always say I skipped the part where I hated my job and went straight to the part where people say, "Oh, how did you get into nonprofit? How did you get out of corporate law?" And I said, "Oh no, I didn't actually."
You skipped the whole thing.
I highly recommend skipping the whole thing.
That was very well done. Was that the plan the whole time?
It was the plan the whole time. You take the bar, you pass the bar, and then you skip the whole rest of it.
Wow. And then you're still going to be intimidating.
I mean, on occasion.
Well, you can channel it.
You can channel it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does help. It does help with the channeling.
Like Denny Crane style?
only in extreme circumstances.
Okay, great. I have a whole list of your favorite lawyer jokes, but you were never really a lawyer, so
well,
it's okay.
There you go. Yeah, no, we can rip that one up.
Right. Shakespeare can just go out the window. Just kill the lawyers that went to, practice.
This is right. The rest of us will be here.
Exactly. So are you originally from the area?
Grew up in California, Bay Area.
So transplant.
Transplant via Chicago, but we've been here 30 years almost.
Oh, so you know where to get off on the train.
Yes. Took me about a year before I knew which way it was up. Correct. Yeah.
That was always my litmus test for my friends, because I went to Binghamton upstate and I met people from upstate and then who moved down to New York after we graduated. And I said, I will only believe you are a New Yorker when you know where to stand on the platform in advance of knowing where you're getting off.
I have astounded friends and relatives with that very skill. Yes, it is.
It's just, it's brilliant. And yet sometimes I still emerge and like, where the hell am I?
Yeah, right. Which way is north? And
Yeah. I, like the park goes south. Yeah.
But you don't stand at the top of the stairs for the subway. You know to move over.
Tourists stand at the top of the stairs.
So we know. You scoot over and then pretend you know where you're going. And then, right. Yeah.
And then, of course, the benefits of your tax dollars at work with the acrobats.
Correct.
Yes. And then they're selling like gummies too.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
But I'm going to just, have you ridden the new B train?
I love the new B train.
I hate the new B train.
You hate,
it hurts my back.
I have not sat.
I like the seats where the butt is carved out.
Don't sit on the subway. This is your standing time. You sit all day.
But I don't know. My backpack is like 80 pounds. I don't want to put it on the God knows what's on the floor.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw somebody take out a little wrapper that they put on the floor the other day to put their bag on.
Oh,
you could do that.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You're also, like Purelling the hell out of your bag when you get home.
My daughter, when she was 2, I leaned over, I had her in her front pack, and she was fully teething on. She's just munching on the bar, just chew. So it's a game over at that point. So
yeah, well then you watch, like you wonder why like kids have great immune systems most of the time because they're rolling on the subway floor and the parents are like, keep going.
Hey, I'm worked out.
Well, that's like raising us. We were feral 80s kids, like on rusty slides. It gave us, it gave us our gumption.
Bark? Did you have tan bark in your playgrounds?
What's tan bark?
Tan bark in California is their solution to a playground substance that is essentially splinters. It is redwood exterior that is bark that you fall on it and you would truly get in a knee full of splinters. And that's, I think...
That sounds right out of an 80s movie and it belongs there.
It is exactly. I might to this day be on California playgrounds.
Okay, because we had the slides that they never cleaned since the 1950s that were ready for like nuclear fallout, and they got rusty and you just bled.
Yeah, or
mercurochrome. Great,
or burned yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that stuff. Well, we're 80s kids. Most of my guests are 80s people. We're like, it's different. I miss it. I don't miss it. Better problems to have today.
This is one of those things too where it just feels like it was 20 years ago.
I saw that if Back to the Future was today, 30 years ago, it was 1996. Motherfucker.
Highly disturbing. Yeah.
Not okay.
Not okay.
No, wouldn't have been a DeLorean. It would have been like some Chevy Impala.
Right. This would be.
No, that was car. God. Which again, so the 80s theme here ties into like, mental health, right? Because we were all like walking off in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what happened to you. And I got sick and my dad's like, walk it off. He didn't mean it that way, but this was just like, it's only brain cancer. You look great.
Yeah, it's fine. There's nothing. Well, nobody knew, there was no conversation about that. There was no, of course not.
So what possessed you to get into a career where like, I'm equating this non-medically to like a pediatric oncologist. You're watching kids suffer all the time and trying to help them.
Well, that's a very noble framing, so thank you. I hate when people take terrible advantage of desperate situations. This to me is one of the prime examples of a desperate situation, right? You've got people who are desperate to find care for their children, and there's a lot of snake oil out there. There's a lot of garbage. And helping differentiate or understand how we can even tell the difference. So I spend a lot of time thinking about like, does it work? How do we know it works? How do we navigate that? So I like that. And I like hard things. I like complexity. This wicked problems is sort of a concept I go back to a lot. But what does it mean to navigate a wicked problem? So climate is a wicked problem, and housing affordability is a wicked problem, and mental health is a wicked problem. So it attracts interesting people that I like hanging out with.
Well, the question I ask people I've had many people on the show who deal with very fragile communities. My wife herself works in pediatrics. She is a speech language pathologist.
Okay.
So she deals with like very low functioning children, and it's very difficult, and it's a labor of love, and it's God's work. And at 3 a.m, like you're thinking of these things, how do you balance being you and your family and a mom and a husband and a Benghiat? Right. While this is what you've been doing your whole career.
Well, have to like the
You
thing.
compartmentalize?
You have to compartmentalize. So I would say that's the first piece. You have to be able to separate because it allows you to be thoughtful when you need to be thoughtful. And I worked too hard to not like the thing I'm doing. So I figured out pretty early on that I could pour myself into something I cared less about that probably would make more money, right? But I can't, I wish I could. You're like this too. I can't, have you phoned anything in ever? Have you ever been able to, no, like,
I write AI every now and then. That's my closest to phoning it in.
I'm in awe of people who, and often successfully, right? There's
right.
Just, so that is not, I've not been able to figure that out. So I have to like the thing. And then, yeah, I'm still figuring out what that looks like. I'm all in, but I'm all in. And I said to a friend recently, my brain feels like a commercial kitchen. Just got it's a lot of things.
Are you Ron Pope healing every minute?
Every minute.
Okay.
Every minute, but there's many burners.
Yes.
There's many.
Lots of burners
set it and
on the
forget
stove.
it. Yes.
So I wave back and forth between, yes, mental health matters, but again, it's just like Xerox. It means everything. How do you undilute that?
Well, some of the conversation right now has been, how do we think about brain health versus mental health versus cognitive health? And we're seeing a bit of a split in language, which has been really interesting, I think, to navigate some of that as you're describing. And I'm not sure where that's going to land yet.
Right.
I think we're at a place, if you talked about cardiac health like chest pain, that's not useful from a treatment perspective. It's just a diagnosis or a symptom. So I'm curious to see what that shift looks like. I care less that we label it brain wellness, cognitive, mental, and more that we think about mechanisms. And good, people are talking about it. I don't super care if we're conflating a wellness approach. I think it's important to differentiate from a treatment perspective, but would rather we're having the conversation than not.
Right. The nonprofit stuff that you've done, it's not like your typical nonprofit. You tend to think, oh, nonprofit, you're raising money for this, you're doing this. It's not. It's very intricate. It involves multiple systems. That fascinates me because, like, oh, nonprofits just do this. No, you're doing, like, at the JED and now with, where are you now?
I'm at the Inner Foundation.
Inner, yes. Yeah. You just went there.
I just went there.
That's why I forgot the name.
Yeah, it's easy, and easy to pronounce, at least. I think a lot about what it means to build a thing, and I like that the days are different, right? So things need to be growing and sequential. Right. I have worked largely in figuring out both how to change an ecosystem and think about care delivery. I think when we think about this in a simplistic way, we're not able to do the work. So anyone that says that they've got an answer that's a really particular easy solution is bullshitting you. It's not possible. So we live in the complexity and we do the best we can. You can't not do the work because it's easy to get paralyzed by the complexity of it. I'm very risk tolerant when it comes to that. And I think maybe that's where the JD piece comes in.
Yeah.
So I don't need to get paralyzed from that perspective, but yeah, no, it is hard. It's complicated. If it's working, it should be a little complicated.
I'll say it this way. Was there a pivot at some point? Because I think I missed the memo on this. When did we go from walk it off to everyone's got a problem?
That's interesting. I don't quite know, right? There was a little bit of an evolution. Well, so internet and social media, one, right?
Didn't help.
So didn't help, but certainly also did help from an awareness.
Part of the solution.
It's a complicated answer, right? So but there was a moment in pivot there. I think there's a set of conversations that I've been watching or paying attention to around AIDS crisis, right? So large public health mobilizations that changed conversation about stigma, cancer certainly being one of them, right? So first and foremost, thinking about AIDS, and so really setting the stage to have conversations about things no one wants you to talk about. And in some ways, mental health feels like the next logical place. But yeah, between the 80s and 95.
Right. It was kind of nothing. I mean, we could say pandemic was like the big reveal. And I would look at, like, in 1986, there was an organization that got started called the National Coalition for Cancer Survivorship. If you know NCCN.
Yeah.
Their first major executive director, Ellen Stovall, the late Ellen, was my mentor. I met her in like 2004. And in my book that I'm coming out with, we talk about like, when did the origins of, oh, you met her too, start? And my take on my own question was, I think disease started the idea that it's going to give you more stress than just walk it off.
Yeah.
And we have to look at, but then I would also contend that it wound up making more money for industry when you did better mentally at the same time.
Well, right. Absolutely. There's suddenly incentivized.
Yes.
Yes.
So follow the money.
Follow the money.
So is that why everything is BetterHelp today, not a sponsor?
I think it is easy to create solutions that seem, snackable.
Yeah.
Without thinking about outcomes and measurement. It is incredibly difficult to measure. And one of my roles at the Inner Foundation is head of impact. And so I think about, what does it mean to measure outcomes? Is the thing working? How do we know it's working? And it's not a question you can ask once. You're asking the question repeatedly. As soon as you're done getting the answer, you have to ask it again. It's not, this is an iterative, constant process. And you have to decide what you want to know and how we're going to measure if it's working, because there's not great metrics. So what are the metrics? What are the proxy metrics? How do we make
because you're not building a house.
You're not building a house. You're not building a house. And you telling
it's
me
so
that
intangible.
If you don't like your therapy, that may actually be therapeutic, right? So your reaction in a moment, for instance, to say a clinical therapy session, is it working? Maybe a moment of conversation with your therapist to say, you don't think it's working. Let's reflect back on that, for instance, and reality test that. And so objective versus subjective measures are really fascinating in this. And again, we can't not measure it, because otherwise then we're creating vulnerable, gaps in the system.
So you're at the deli counter and there's, all the meats and cheeses. How do you decide what to pick from the selection within the panoply, whatever mental health means these days? I'm sorry, it's a Brooklyn thing.
It is a Brooklyn thing and a food poisoning thing.
Yes.
Right? This is the
nitrates. Go for it.
Do not just pick any meat in the
food
counter.
of life, nitrates.
My mother used to tell a story. Her father had a pharmacy with a deli counter, and she remembers that they would put the new tuna fish on top of the old tuna fish.
Oh, lovely.
Because that's just sort of how you did it, right?
Yeah.
That was and so we're not to have the tuna fish.
So you want to get there in the morning to get the new tuna fish.
You don't really want the tuna fish.
I just want the tuna fish.
There's really you've never really eaten tuna fish out. No. So this.
Well, because there's sadness, there's depression.
Look, this is the hard part. You're asking vulnerable people who are in crisis to have to make a determination, to your point. I mean, it's very similar to there is not currently a great way for people to access care to make those sorts of decisions. They should not have to bear the burden of making that decision. Mm-hmm. And that is shameful that we put people in that position where they have to navigate and advocate and think about parsing what's going on before they even access. So the idea of having a high quality front door, having assessment and diagnosis, a lot of these screeners, PHQ-9s and these are...
Wait, acronym. What does that mean?
That is, so there are a set of questionnaires.
That's not an acronym. Acronyms mean something. Yeah,
It's a PHQ-9. PHQ-9 is a depression assessment that has 9 questions as part of the questionnaire. You've done, in the last 2 weeks, have you felt, you've seen these, you go to the doctor, and it's problematic for lots of reasons, and helpful in the sense that it starts a conversation, is not a diagnostic tool. It cannot diagnose you. It is an assessment tool that says, oh, Matthew, you scored highly. We should probably have a further conversation with you. It is often conflated as a mechanism for diagnosis, or is not looked at it close enough. It's not examined close enough if somebody necessarily scores high in a circumstance where you're asking a whole bunch of people.
Well, how do you solve for bias, though? Because I remember there was a running joke back years ago where the pain scale should be updated from like happy face to angry face. It was just like someone slowly bleeding and melting, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The way it feels when you're right.
If you're asking a screening question, have you been to whatever the question is, that could mean something different to completely different people.
It's true. There's a validation in a lot of these assessments. Again, problematic for many other reasons, and I can see the clinical community looking at me as I'm talking about this.
You got your JD to protect you.
Well, right. All respect to the PhDs and MDs, right? When it's validated, it means that there's been then a further look at the patient population that has taken the assessment to understand what percentage actually are depressed,
right? So
that you're able to say, yes, this is an accurate reflection. The more interesting set of criteria, and there's work happening from a mathematical model perspective, what is the trajectory over time? So to your point, even if it is a subjective assessment, my change in trajectory could be interesting, diagnostic, curious, and potentially more helpful, but it's not necessarily something that we're tracking in a lot of these digital mechanisms. It happens a lot with suicidality. It happens a lot with escalation of impulsivity, and that tracking is something that I'm particularly interested in.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back after these messages from hopefully not a Boar's Head commercial. All right, we'll be right back. So when I started Stupid Cancer, the idea of young adult were not words that were spoken mostly in nonfiction.
This is what I want to talk to you about. I mean, I've got, you're the OG.
Nonfiction narrative was young adult. That was the section at Borders or whatever. Walden Books at the Staten Island Mall.
And all nonfiction, right? There was no YA. No.
So the three words in academia didn't exist either. I'm going where the question I always got from people was, well, why young adults? What makes you so special?
This is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about.
Right. Yeah. And I always say it's not about being special. It's about being different. Yeah. And what do you mean? I'm like, well, my nuts should be working when I'm 22, right? Oh, I get it now. Right. So those... But I don't think we have to justify it as much anymore, but tell me what you were thinking.
So at the Inner Foundation, one of our primary focuses is emerging adults. So we look at mental health writ large for 18 to 30-year-olds and get very similar sets of questions.
Yeah.
We have someone on our team who said it so beautifully that it is the only developmental phase that begins in biology and ends in culture, that we are navigating a period that does not have a clearly defined path. And it's entirely different than it was 10, 15, 20 plus years ago.
Sure.
And to imagine that developmental phase on top of current stressors, on top of it being different, is something that has not been, I think, similar. I mean, this is why I want to talk to you about it. You were really at the forefront from a medical perspective. We're really looking at the forefront of the mental health clinical perspective.
Do you think our species was equipped to evolve so quickly to have the entire wealth of our human history in our pockets at a moment's notice?
Well, none of us were supposed to be alive at this point, right?
Right.
We're 30 years old. We're all supposed to have already had our babies and we're done.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just AI knows everything. That has to make it worse.
Can I tell you, I was in my daughter's university library walking around when she started.
I'm sorry,
there.
your what?
What? So it's this place. It's got these they're things on the wall. They're like cabinets, but they're open.
I've heard of these things. They're made of paper. You open them there's words.
There's words and it smells, has a particular little it's
what a throwback.
A little dusty.
Sponsored by Dewey Decimal. Let's go on.
Well, and to navigate, right? So then, and the realization that the vast majority of what was in that very large library is actually not, these books are not online. They're not scanned in. And it was such a sort of stark reminder that that we think everything.
Yeah.
And in fact,
it's a fraction.
There's a universe of information that is moldering away in these.
Oh my goodness.
And it just sort of took my breath away in that moment of there's so much here. There's so much sort of humanity and knowledge in this place that is not accessible if I were to Google it. So that said, look, we can consume information at the speeds that our brain moves. So no matter how much information is out and available to us, we cannot literally consume it any faster than we've ever been able to consume it. That is the rate limiting factor. So what does it mean to put information in front of us and then do that processing? Even if we have AI churn it out and we look at it, we're still not absorbing it any faster than we would have. I am impressed with how current teenagers are thinking in savvy ways about the information they're consuming. It feels different than it did a couple years ago.
Is that a trend you're seeing? You think there's more congenital savvy?
Congenital savvy? This is the learned savvy?
Yeah.
I think that there's more savvy. I do think that there's some more savvy than there was even a couple years ago. They're also picking up the phone to each other. I don't know if you've seen this with your children. I witnessed this with my daughter and her friends. They call each other without texting first. They just call.
Well, my son's on like this Discord server with 9 of his friends, like party lines in Brooklyn in the 60s.
I mean, this is...
What's your phone number? GE694. Great.
Sorry. A party line rings and everyone listens in, right? This is so there's something happening. I think that there's a pendulum swing a little bit. I don't want to be too Pollyanna about it, but I'm watching some savvy emerge.
Is that attributable possibly to this generation of parents realizing the last one's kind of fucked up a little bit? Is that fair to castigate? I don't want to broad brush it.
I think a lot about Gen Alpha and their millennial parents, right? Versus, and it's a very different approach. And watching them parent little Gen Alphas, right? So that's up to 12 years old for, I mean, certainly our parents with our AOL accounts, right?
Right, exactly.
And you would wait and you knew that would mean that you would be able to, right? Like And so I do think that there's some different parent savvy and parent concern. What's happening with the millennial parents, and you see a lot of this with marketing studies. So the impact of millennial parenting on Gen Alpha is most visible in marketing and marketing analysis. But their reaction to their lack of supervision when they were navigating the internet when they were children is having direct effects on Gen Alpha.
So they are sort of having a parental recompense.
Yes, in some ways, maybe even overcompensating in control ways that will be interesting.
Okay.
Question mark.
Yeah. Like when you put air tags in the backpacks.
Is that a thing?
Yes, that's a thing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I have a friend who was a helicopter dad, self-admittedly.
Okay.
And he had an app that tracked the kid. And apparently you could the kid was wearing a wristband and you could zap the wristband if you wanted to just bother the kid to let him know what's going on. It's like a little, remember that Simpsons where they zap each other?
Yes.
That's where my mind went. This is not, it's not a leash.
It's like one of those dog collars with the,
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly appreciate Find My Friends with my family. There's nothing wrong with that, but I didn't know that was a thing.
But going back to how now there's money in mental health, all the ads that everyone's seeing these days are you sad? Are you depressed? Everything's wrong with you. Take a pill. That can't be helping.
Well, let's be clear. There's not a whole lot of money in mental health.
Okay.
So proportionally speaking, from a investment perspective.
Every SSRI ad just is on every radio station.
Well, sure, but proportionally.
Okay, yeah.
This is not right.
It's not Keytruda, not a sponsor.
Force head carry. We got a whole list of not a sponsors here. I think that there's eagerness for market, right? So if you are not sure where to go, then that could be your first stop. We are not necessarily building systems where people are able to go to their medical home for this information. I'm very interested in embedded mental health care into primary care, right, into other avenues and aspects. But I would challenge the idea that it's prospective dollars. I don't think that there's real dollars here.
Where are you in the psychedelic world?
Isn't it so interesting?
Yeah, my brother's in that space.
I think we're going to stop calling it psychedelic soon. I think small molecule is...
Is that really consumer friendly? The real one's Timothy Leary.
Or
if they know who he is. Timothy who?
Now we're dating ourselves again. This is remarkable things are happening in that space, and precision psychiatry is taking great
Ooh,
strides.
that's a fancy term.
Precision psychiatry. So the idea that brains are different, Matthew. Brains are. This is the.
Mine's Jello. I don't know.
I mean, right? This is the a particular flavor of Jello.
Yes,
and so
that's true. Well done, JD.
So I'm very curious about how this is going to evolve. I think that there's huge potential in thinking about understanding what works for what kinds of brains. And it's going to live in that psychedelic space. But I think psychedelics are largely a misnomer for the type of pharmacologic intervention.
Right.
And it works really well for lots of people. So the problem is the side effects are difficult.
And you have to dedicate your life to it, like a chiropractor.
What, as a patient?
Yeah, sometimes you have to do it every day for months and months.
That's not entirely.
No,
that's not necessarily the case. I think
the ads are telling me all the wrong things. Damn you ads.
There's a lot of interest in what it looks like to have a one and done treatment, right? So thinking about combinations of therapy and ketamine therapy and psychedelics therapy and how do we not have people in? And we're creating a market and a system that incentivizes long duration treatments.
Right.
So that gets difficult too.
So where do we live in the space of what is cure? I always hated that word because it means like an endpoint. There really are no endpoints. And I just go back to one of my favorite quotes from the late Stuart Scott, or it might have been Lance. I forget who it was. We don't talk about Lance. It's like that cancer may leave your body, but it never leaves your life. And trauma is now another Kleenex term that means nothing anymore because everyone has trauma, right? What does, to your point, what does that look like? It's such an N of one to figure out, are you better yet? And what is better?
It's highly subjective now, right? So this is a question. Are things more comfortable? Are you functioning in ways that you want to be functioning? From a cure perspective, there are certainly disorders and diagnoses that are alleviated and treated that may require long-term treatment. And it is a moving target, right? Shit happens, trauma happens, things are difficult. And to be able to conceptualize what it looks like to have a lifelong relationship with care and going back to the point of emerging adults, to think about embedding that into what it means to take care of yourself more broadly and become an adult, that's a remarkably tangible, necessary skill. But it's the idea of cure is also tricky though, because we don't want to keep people in unnecessarily. So to your point, are you in forever? Yeah. There are other drivers that incentivize that.
Tell me about the Aspen Ideas thing. I read about that. It seemed really fascinating.
Oh, it's very cool.
Tell me about it.
It is a remarkable moment. So the Health Festival is something that I've been able to participate in. The Institute, I'm probably not the best qualified to speak broadly, but the opportunity to bring people together to think about larger ecosystems that lend themselves to both problems and solutions. So it's very much not a place for talking about a particular pitch or singular idea, but to think about how we might approach wicked problems. And it couldn't be a more beautiful setting to talk about wicked, terrible problems. And I just appreciate the thoughtfulness of the humans that are involved.
Is it like an annual convening?
It is an annual convening. It is.
I'd love to go.
I'm sure we could get you.
Am I broken enough to be there? I'm kidding. I'm so broken. I just look great.
I'll put in a call.
Don't look under the hood. So who attends?
Innovators, entrepreneurs, funders, folks from, sort of government, lots of corporate. So it's a little bit of a sort of level playing field from that perspective.
I want to talk about trust, which is the I think apps and health and cancer. There's like the trust is lower than Congress.
That's
as a consumer
bold statement. Look
yeah,
at you.
I know. And
right,
Congress is pretty fucked right now. But I just see this all the time. Oh, there's a new app here and a new app there, and this does this. How do you know what to trust? These are some of them fly-by-night, fleeting, seed round companies that don't have any data, but they have slick ads and they're doing cool Instagram things. Where is the good housekeeping seal of approval in your world?
It's a quite a topic of debate. There's really interesting things happening in the UK right now. There's remarkable advocacy when it comes to thinking about online safety and what's working and what doesn't. The question in terms of regulation, I would say, is if you're going to have a good housekeeping seal of approval, say, if that were to exist, what's the incentive or requirement to participate in that system? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of activity, even when we're thinking about AI in mental health spaces, around what those sandboxes, regulatory activities would be. How do we do that testing? All of which would be voluntary. So we can build all of that, but if we don't create mechanisms that require participation, there's absolutely no incentive to participate. The burden also of evaluation, this goes back to the putting burden on people who shouldn't have to bear it.
Right.
Having parents make that assessment or blaming parents when something then goes wrong, right? So that you didn't turn on the safety requirements, you didn't. And so there's a lot of blame shifting that happens from that perspective too. I think we're at a pretty critical inflection point with the advent of AI into this space, because it's becoming very clear that we need to think about how we're taking out the garbage, as it were.
Right. And now they're debating putting ads in AI.
Did you see, I didn't snap a picture. In the Union Square subway, they're advertising for a company, and I need to go see what this is, where you can essentially boost your sort of AI callback for your company. So it's like a Google ad, so that the AI recommends you or your company before. This was new to me.
It's like a pay for play within the AI.
Basically, yes.
That's terrible.
It felt very dystopian.
Mm-hmm.
I meant to snap a picture of it, but I was running for my train, so I'll look for it next time.
Oh my God.
But that is and at least for Google ads at this point, and again, I know this is not that you have some understanding that what you're looking at is an advertisement. So
which goes back to savvy, right?
Goes back to savvy.
Are we more aware of bullshit than we used to be?
And then the bullshit changes.
Yes, they build a better bullshit mousetrap.
Better bullshit, right? That's how bullshit works.
Yes, that's exactly how bullshit works. And I'm looking at, remember our shelter drills in the 80s?
Yes.
Like hiding under wood when the nuclear flame was coming?
Earthquake drills, as if under your desk was going to save you in the earthquake.
We had the nuclear Russian warships were firing on Brooklyn. It's not okay.
Right under your desk.
But is the version today, because my kid's high school has, the prevention frameworks and the, I'm just going to say this. Are you feeling like killing yourself today? Interventions. I like that. My kids, we raised, thankfully, they're magnificent and they got their shit together and they're good 80s kids. They love Iron Maiden.
Oh, there you go.
And Queen.
Right.
Is that a modern day version? Have you seen those implementations taking shape, taking hold? Are they working? How do you measure that?
So that is a good example of a systems approach.
Okay.
So what those school-based interventions do are, when they're working well, is create a whole networked approach to thinking about what it means to take care of kids, because it's not just asking them how they're doing. It's creating situations where there's not bullying. It's creating situations for them to feel engaged, to feel like they have a trusted adult. And if we're intentional about all of those systems, some of it is asking and creating places to have conversation, but a lot more of it is about thinking about the unspoken components of a child's experience that then lead them to feeling isolated. Talking to a friend right now about, we're unpacking the difference between isolation and loneliness. We haven't gotten very far, but thinking about, what does it mean to be isolated? What does it mean to be lonely? How do you address those? Is one easier to address than the other? And I think a lot of that goes to thinking about those school systems. So I think they're probably better than what would protect you from a
nuclear fallout.
Yeah. I'm gonna go that's one better.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Hot take. Last question before the bonus round.
Yeah.
Do you miss traditional bullying?
Do you know what I miss?
Do we need what was that psychology thing you said?
Precision psychiatry.
We need precision bullying. My hot take.
I miss Dodgeball.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's what I miss.
That was the best anger management for an 8-year-old.
It's a really good game.
Yeah.
And I don't think they play it anymore.
No, because of lawyers.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, then there was like kickball, too. We just got smacked in the face.
Oh, that was a really good one, too. Yeah.
That was dodgeball with even more anger running.
Although you had to wait your turn. And I didn't like that as much.
Not okay.
Yeah.
That's my hot take. Like, I feel like everyone should have a sense of inadequacy. You should. Otherwise, you're just a dick. Everyone needs to fall a little bit. I don't mean like getting like beaten the shit out of in the playground.
I have a nicer way to say that.
Yes, well, you should. You're a JD.
I feel
channel that
friction. We talk about friction, and that young people, especially, and emerging adults. This is something from an AI perspective that we're concerned about. It's removing friction. Yeah. Things are a little bit too easy. Things should be a little hard.
Yes.
Things should be a little difficult. I don't need to throw a ball. I have a ball thrown at me necessarily to make that happen. But I'm fully in favor of friction.
Okay, good. Well, on to the bonus round.
Great.
And for the listeners, if you're just joining us, welcome to the show. If you've been listening a long time, you know what's about to happen. So I ask my ChatGPT about my guest. I feed it all sorts of stuff with an oral opinion to channel your Denny Crane here. If my guest were a Netflix series, what 3 pop culture characters would embody her character? So you are Michael Clayton.
Oh.
For many reasons. A fixer who understands institution from the inside and knows how power protects itself. The tension between loyalty and conscience mirrors someone navigating philanthropy, policy, and youth mental health ecosystems. All right. You are Clarice Starling from The Silence of the Lambs. Good old Jodie Foster.
Right.
Because you are, like, you can cut a man 9 ways. You're very quiet. Calm under pressure, methodical, navigating male-dominated power structures, committed to understanding the psychology behind harm rather than reacting to spectacle. There is a similar disciplined intelligence at work in your mind.
Goodness, okay.
And you are Martin Sheen. You are President Josiah Bartlett from The West Wing, an intellectual insider who believes institutions can function better if led with rigor and conscience, balances idealism with pragmatic trade-offs, and carries the weight of systemic responsibility.
That was such a good show. I have to take this GPT home with me. This is like...
Well, this is your... you got to get a photo with your takeaway. It's your booby prize. Here you go.
My Benghiat prize. This is fabulous.
Prize. This is oh my goodness. This has been a long time coming.
Thank you.
This is an endless conversation. I'm glad we're having the mental health, even though it's become toilet paper at this point.
Anytime you want to talk about whatever toilet paper with me.
Okay.
I'm in.
3-ply. Not the bears wiping their asses.
Please, no.
We want not northern.
Yes.
Not the bears. Okay, not a sponsor.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Okay. Rebecca Benghiat is the Chief of Staff and Head of Impact at the Inner Foundation, and just a badass JD who didn't go to law, who went to law school but didn't practice law. Kudos 100%. To you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Bye.
All right, folks. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.